Dave here with Half Dozen Customs. We're out here for a little project today. As you can see, I have my propane tank sitting behind me. That is what I use to heat this shop. Maybe in some of the videos you guys have heard me complain about it. When we very first put this heater in, it wasn't set up right, it wasn't adjusted right, and it did not heat this place, and I was just burning through propane. So we finally got everything set up properly at the beginning of this winter, and it heats the shop awesome. And instead of getting we were getting 26 to 28 hours out of a tank, and now we're getting 42 or so hours out of it. So big difference. Now I had mentioned in the last video, I think I mentioned it in the last video, of us getting this heater working properly, or I don't even know if that video's been out at this point, but because it hasn't been that long. It's only been a few weeks since we got this thing up and going. But I wanted to build a box around it to keep the tank out of the elements. The first week that we had it up and going in here, we had gotten a lot of snow. We got a foot of snow over a couple day period. And once we started heating it up in here and all that started melting, I don't have gutters on the shop, so it just created these giant icicles down from the back of the shop all over the tank. I couldn't even get to it to turn it on or off because it was solid ice up here. My hose and my regulator was all ice. So what I've been doing is I just have a scrap piece of metal that sits across here that keeps the elements off of this. So I've been wanting to build a box around it so that it's out of the elements. But yesterday I ran into an issue with the heater where I turned it on, and within about an hour it had dropped down from blowing at 150 degrees. I have a thermometer up on the heater. It was blowing at 250 degrees. I don't know if I just said 150, but 250 degrees is our normal operating temperature. And I came in after snow blowing, and it was only blowing at 100. And I was like, what's going on? I thought maybe we were running out of propane, but we were only at 36 hours. So I should still have another, 6 hours of heat out of this tank, according to what we have been keeping track of. And by the time I had went in, it was only blowing at 70. So I had did some research, and according to the research that I did, propane is a liquid and it actually turns to a gas. They only fill it to about 80%. So your bottom is liquid and your top is what the gas is, and you burn off of that gas. And it needs to be at 44 degrees or higher for that liquid to turn into a gas. They say it boils at 44 degrees. So when you have a full tank of liquid, it keeps your tank warm for you, and there's not much area for it to have to turn into a gas. But as you start to get down to the bottom, my frost line was probably about right here when I brought the tank in to warm up. So they say when you get down to about a third of a tank that there's too much open volume in here, and it gets too cold, and it doesn't want to turn into the gas because it needs to be at 45 degrees. I never had this problem before because I always kept my tank inside. Well, I was told by a heating and air company that came out here and they installed my air conditioning unit, and I had them look at the heater to see if they could get it running properly, and they said they wouldn't even touch it because I had the propane tank inside. They said I had to have the propane tank outside, which I understand. We looked into code around here, and yes, it has to be outside. So it's like 20 degrees outside. So there's no way that this is staying at the correct temperature for it to turn it into a gas. So we're going to build a box today, and we're going to insulate it. We're going to make a little trap door on the top so that I can open it and turn it on and off. And we'll put some handles on it so that I can just pull the box away from the shop to get to the tank. And then I think we'll wrap like a moving blanket around this. They have, in the research that I did, they actually have tank insulators, which is a giant thing that slips over the tank, and it's like an aluminum foil type insulation. You put straps around it and whatnot, and it helps keep the tank insulated. And those are like $60. Not horrible, but if I'm gonna keep putting money into this, I would much rather just run a gas line out here. So we're done putting money into this, and this summer we're gonna run a gas line out to the shop. But I figure if we build a box, we insulate it, we wrap it with a blanket, hopefully we'll be good. They also have a thing out there called a tank blanket. And that's what was suggested that you use, is a tank blanket. And what it is it's a blanket that wraps around the tank. It has straps, you strap it up, and it plugs in and it heats your tank. It's like a heated blanket. And I was like, hey, that's a good idea. If I can pick one up for 50, 60, 70 bucks, I'll order one. They're $700. So that is absolutely out of the question. For that price, I can run my gas line. So I took some measurements of everything, and we're gonna start building the box here. I have my little torpedo heater in here. I'm gonna turn that back on so that it's gonna be a little noisy, so enjoy some music. But let's get to it. I'm gonna drag out my saw. We'll start marking some stuff out, and we'll get ourselves a box built. I have some insulation in the attic over there. We'll pull that down. It's a brand new roll of insulation. We'll insulate the box, and then I have some siding that matches the shop, and we'll put this siding on the box so that it matches the shop. So let me get my saw out, and we'll start marking some stuff out. We'll start cutting some stuff, and yeah, let's do it. I think we'll cut the, well, of course we're gonna cut the uprights. I think we'll start with the back ones, which are 60 inches, and then we'll do the front ones, which are 52 inches. And then we'll have to draw a line across all of them to get our angle for the door to open. And then we will work on getting that cut and framed out. Okay, so you can kind of see where I'm going with this, kind of. So this will be the back. It'll be open here so that we can pick this up and slide it over the top of the tank. I know you're probably looking at this and you're like, man, that's a lot wider than that tank. Well, I have lag hooks on the outside of the building that I have a strap that goes around the tank, and this will clear the outside of those lags so that I can still strap the tank to the outside of the building. And you know what we'll probably end up doing is that told you that we're going to put a moving blanket around it. So we'll put the moving blanket around it, strap it to the building, use that strap to hold the moving blanket, and then we'll slide this over. And this being as wide as it is, it gives us enough clearance to get around that strap and whatnot. So I do need to make a board that's going to go across here, but before we do that, so I have these set at like 59.5 inches right now. The tank off of the ground, the tank is only 52 inches. And actually I would say it's probably closer to 50 inches. I gave it extra so that we had room, you know, to slide this over it. but I wanna put somewhat of a pitch on this. So I'm thinking what we're gonna do. So this is set at 59.5 inches. This is set at 57.5 inches. We only need 52. So, and I want to pitch on it like so, because I told you all the water runs off of my roof and lands right on top of that tank. So I want to pitch this so that this runs off as well. As water drips onto it, it'll run off, and then this will open so that I can turn the tank on and off, so that I don't have to move this out every time that I want to turn the tank on and off, because I don't leave it going when I'm not in here. So yeah, so we'll end up getting the measurement like so, and as long as our measurement on this end is above 52 inches, then we're good to go. What I'm gonna do, so that it's trigonometry, I guess. I'm good at math when it comes to adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. But once you start getting into that obtuse angles and degrees and trigonometry and stuff like that, I just I brain fart. So and I went in, you know, Colleen studied all that stuff in school. She studied architecture and learned how to build houses and stuff in school, and do the layout and the floor plans and all that stuff. So I went in there and I talked to her, and my idea is I had taken some measurements of everything, and I was like, okay, so we need to have this measurement here, and then basically what I'll do is I'll find the degree that I want. We'll mark a couple of lines. We'll get these boards cut at that line, and then, you know, I have an angle finder, so we'll use an angle finder to find this mark, and then we'll just transfer it over to the other side so that they match. That was my plan of doing it. Instead of getting into all the math, you know, I just wing it. That's normally how I do it, and I just make one side match the other, and we'll be good. I went in there and I asked Colleen if she could figure out all the measurements, and she actually, once she figured it out, it was the exact same measurements that I had written down over here. So somehow, with my guesstimations, I figured it out. Right, go figure. But actually I did go figure. But we're still gonna kind of do, you know, like I said, the same thing. This needs to be pitched like so. And then we're gonna need to run a board in between here. The board will have a hinge back here so that this top hinges. And hopefully I can get it to where it hinges and clears everything. I just need to hinge enough for me to reach my arm in there, really. So yeah, let me get this last board screwed on. And then I'm gonna make another one of these, and we'll put that on the other side over here. Like I said, we need to make a board to go through here, but we need to know what our angle is here before we screw this board in, because if I screw it up too high, then blah blah blah, and it's more to have to take apart, because we're gonna have to pull these boards back off again to cut the angle in them. So yeah, we'll be right back once I get to that point. When we're ready to mark this, I'll be back. Okay, so we got that kind of bolted together, screwed together. So the tank is 50 inches on the tall side. I would say it's probably like 49.5. Now from the ground up to the top here, we're 57 inches. So I was thinking 52 inches would give us plenty plenty of room. I don't want to have to reach way in there. I'd like to be able to open the lid and it's right there. So we're going to mark our 52. And our 52. Okay, I'm not going to watch you guys watch this next step because basically I got to take this whole thing back apart, and then we're going to cut those angles into it. So I have this set for my angle. So what we'll do is we will adjust the saw blade to this guy, and then run our cuts. And then I'll get it put back together. We'll have our angle cut in here, and then on this front side up here we need to run a board going across just to keep these walls from moving this way. We can't put nothing at the back because we need to be able to slide it in and out of the tank. Okay, so we got everything cut on an angle. I did cut the front board to go in there. We do not have it screwed in there yet. That is our next step. So let's go ahead and let's work on getting that done. Okay, it's not too heavy yet. But we still have more to do to it. Some insulation, and then we got to put the siding on it. I did watch a couple videos of people doing this. I didn't need to watch a video of them building a box. I can build a box. I was basically watching a video on how to keep your tank warm. And they had several different things in there on how to keep your tank warm, and building a box was one of them. And most people were just doing it, they were insulating it, but they were using plywood. I want to use the actual siding from the shop so that it looks nicer. It might be a little bit lighter than a piece of plywood. Definitely once it gets wet, it'll be lighter, because once that plywood gets wet, it soaks in water. The metal won't soak in the water, so alright, so what I'm gonna do now, I gotta go up in the attic on the other side of the shop and get that insulation. So let me go get that, and then we will figure out what we gotta do to get this thing insulated, and then we will drag the metal in and start getting that cut to fit. Okay, so I found the insulation. It is not paper bagged. At least I don't think it's paper bagged. Don't look like it is. But the one thing that's good about it is that it's 23 inches wide. So we might be able to get it in here without putting extra boards in here. If we need to put extra boards in there, we will, but hopefully we can. It's going to be close. I don't know what the measurement is between those. I think it's 25 inches or something in between. So we should have plenty to be able to go around and staple this all in. Only thing I was kind of thinking, only thing that might suck about this is that the mice and the chipmunks might start stealing the insulation out to make nests out of, and I'll end up with insulation all over my backyard. We got it. Little short on the inside here. We didn't quite reach for me to be able to staple. And staples in the top. We got staples in the bottom. Maybe put a board across the front up here. Put a board across here that we can staple to. Oh, son of a... Oh. Oh no. Well, I done screwed that guy up, huh? Ow, son of a boo-boo. Okay, my thumb's still broken. Let me, I'm gonna clean up this mess and get set up for the metal, and we'll be back. Okay, so I got some of the siding in here. We have plenty of siding to do this, but unfortunately, this is a factory cut on both sides, and it is not wide enough to go over the whole thing. So we're gonna have to double up and do, you know, at two pieces, probably on each side. We'll have to do 2 in the front, 2 on the sides, 2 on the sides, to make them make it all work. But so it kind of sucks. Instead of doing it in 3 pieces, we're gonna have to do it in 6 pieces. But we have it. We can make it work. And yeah. So I already put this one up here, and we marked it out. So I'm gonna cut him, and then because this is used, this is actually the wall that went between the 2 sides of the shop. So I need to go through and like hammer and dolly everywhere that I ripped this thing off of the wall. You know, hammer and dolly those out, and then we can screw them up where we need them. So let's get to cutting. So got this side up. You know, we still got screwing around the bottom, but I can't bend over at the moment. I need to make a filler piece like we did over there for this back section. So I could maybe cut like that guy in half and do it in 2 pieces, which I really don't care. But I could also just go grab another piece from outside and we can just cut it from outside and do you know, do a full piece that goes all the way down. So yeah, I guess let me go grab another piece from outside, and we'll make a filler piece. We're gonna have to do it on the other side too, the same thing. So might as well just grab it and bring it in here, because I think we're gonna need it. So be right back. So I do want a little bit of overhang, just so that, you know, when it rains, that it's not getting inside and getting our insulation all wet. So I want some overhang on the front and on the sides. The back, there is a little bit of overhang on my roof, but not much, but it should be enough to protect the back. And unfortunately, I don't have a big enough piece to go all the way across here, unless I went this way. But then the water won't want to drain very well. It'll just become a chunk of ice during the winter. I cut a piece out. I have it laid out here. I laid it on the other side. Since we had to do two pieces here, what I'm going to do is on top of these two ribs going down, we're going to run sheet metal screws in it. It's the only way to hold it together, unless I want to weld it. But I'm not looking to do all that. So let's just do some sheet metal screws and call it a day. Okay, so voila, that's it. Now I just gotta finish screwing it together, and I gotta get some hinges back here. So, and like I said, the hinge part, I'm hoping that I have some like some fence hinges. Where they're like fatter at the hinge part and then they get skinnier as they go out to the tip, and we'll be able to just nut and bolt it to this metal, and then we'll just drywall screw or framing screw, whatever you want to call it, into the 2x4, and then should be able to lift her up. There's a couple of holes in here that I need to bang kind of closed, and we'll probably just put some caulk on it. Not worried about the sides or anything like that, but the top, we'll caulk the holes that are in here, just so that we don't have water dripping. The whole reason that, well, not the whole reason, but part of the reason we were doing this was to keep the weather off of it. And the other reason is to hopefully keep my tank warm. So, but yeah, I think that's it. I think I'm gonna call it a night tonight. My back is just absolutely killing me. Go inside, take a hot shower, take some Advil, lay on the heating pad, and hopefully we can come back out here in the morning, and we'll do the hinges, and we'll finish screwing these panels down on the sides. Right now I just have them screwed in at the top, so we need to go down to the bottom and screw everything in on the bottom. Yeah, and that should be it. And then I gotta look to see if I can find some handles. I would like to put some handles on the sides to be able to pick this up and move it out of the way. So I don't think I'll put a handle on the front there, because we can just lift this here. So okay, we're back out here on this box this evening, just finishing up a couple of things. Last night the camera shut off right as I was getting ready to say goodnight. But my back was so trashed that, I was done. I couldn't do no more work last night. Woke up this morning feeling much better. Still not 100%, but much better. We had a bunch of errands to run around this morning, and then I came out here for like an hour and 15 minutes or so. And I dug through some of my stuff and I found some fence hinges. I screwed in all the side panels going all the way around, so we're good. I added this board here. You know, it doesn't really matter, and I'm starting to get to the point to where I'm like, let's just finish this. I've spent way too much time on it. But technically it needs a longer board in here. This was just a scrap that I grabbed. For one, I just felt that it was too light and that the wind would blow it around outside. I didn't want it, you know, blowing up and down, slamming up against my shop. But to put these hinges on, I had to flatten out the metal up here to get the hinge to go down flat. And once I did that, it like bowed this up. So I had to put the board in here and screw it down to flatten everything out. You can see that I have that right here. It's because the bolts are too long and I need to cut the bolts down. So right when I put this together this morning, I just put it together with some sheet metal screws, some self-tappers, and I knew they weren't going to be permanent, but just opening it a couple of times, like they all got loose. I can take that one right out. So what I'm doing now, I just did this side. I'm just going through one at a time, and I'm drilling the hole out, and I'm putting a nut and bolt in it. Once we get all the nut and bolts in it, I'm going to open it up. I'm going to cut these couple of screws off here that are holding the hinge on, and we're going to cut the bolts. Before I cut those screws though, I actually want to unbolt it from the back, unscrew it from the back, and shift it over just a little bit. Because on this side we probably have a good inch overhang here, and on this side we're like right on the edge. There's like a quarter of an inch of overhang. So I just want to shift it this way a little bit, try and center it up on there a little. And I think once this didn't do this until I put those bolts in. So I think it's hitting the 2x4 over there, so we need to cut them down. And then I looked around for some handles for the sides, and I can't find any handles. I know that there's a box around here somewhere that's like full of hinges and handles and stuff like that, but I have a feeling it's up in my attic. And right now I have all the painted stuff for the Jeep is piled up, not piled up, but sitting on stands and sitting on the roof of the Monte Carlo over there. So I don't even want to mess around by that stuff because it's done. If I was to get something out of the attic and drop it on something over there, I'd be mighty upset. So not even gonna mess with that. We'll figure out how to carry it out there. And next time I go up to Ace or something, I'll grab a couple of handles. So I could have put these bolts the other way and we wouldn't have to cut them. But I'd rather not see them. You know, this is something that's going to sit outside on the side of my shop, and I'd rather it look as decent as possible, so Alright, well, you guys see what I'm doing. I got 2 more screws to do there. And then, like I said, I'm gonna adjust this top over like probably 1/4 of an inch and screw it back down. And then I'll show you guys once we get this back outside. I'm not gonna do it tonight. It's almost 9 o'clock at night. So tomorrow morning, I'm gonna come out here. I'm gonna set the tank back up outside, get it all hooked back up. Oh, you know what? One more thing that we gotta do that I gotta do. I gotta cut a slot in over on this side for the line to drop down in. Probably what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll the tank over and slide it in the back, so I can kind of get an idea of where the line needs to go, and then cut that, and then we'll be done. And then tomorrow I'll set everything back up and we'll put this out here and I'll show you guys what it looks like. So just gonna finish these 2 last bolts, adjust this, and we'll see you guys back out here tomorrow. So have a good night. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video so far. It was a lot of work just for something that's gonna house a propane tank for the rest of the winter. But I had to do something to keep that tank warm. So hopefully this will help, and hopefully it gives you guys an idea. So see you guys out here tomorrow. I'm out. Okay, we're back out here. Well, not back out here. We're still out here. We're just back on camera. So I went through and I cut all the bolts off both sides. So now that shuts much better now. I did scoot these over like 1/4 of an inch. You can see where my old hole was, and I just scooted it over 1/4 of an inch. And I used screws about this big instead of the ones that were this big, so I didn't have to cut those off on the inside. I put the tank in, just kind of guesstimated where we needed to go. I cut my insulation on the inside so that the hose can come through. And then I cut this. And this is just, I made a little piece of metal that goes across the top that sheet metal screws in. And this piece is removable so that we can drop our hose in, and then I can put this back in and our hose stays kind of sealed up there. For one, it'll kind of keep the cold air out. We still have the insulation in there and whatnot. But main thing is that it'll help keep the mice out. That was my big thing. If you guys have seen my property out here, we are on 9 acres of property, and it is just open field and woods and everything back here, and we have moles and mice and ground squirrels and groundhogs and chipmunks and all types of stuff that would just love to turn that thing into their home. We're sitting pretty level on the ground here, but out where this propane tank sits, it sits on cement, but the cement has sunk over the years, and it's actually on an angle like this. And for the tank to sit level, I have a 2x4 up against the back of the shop that it sits partially on the cement and partially on that 2x4. So when we eventually put this back there, this is going to, it will be up on the back side, probably the width of a 2x4. It'll be up. It'll touch in the front, but not in the back. So they'll be able to get underneath it. And I figure, you know, what I'll do about that, well, maybe I'll just set some 2x4s on the sides there so that nothing can get in there. Or what I seen other people do that did this, they just shoveled snow up against it. Which, you know, maybe what we do have snow out there right now, but, you know, there's not always snow, so that's, you know, we may do something that blocks the animals from getting to get underneath it. I mean, I don't really care if they get in there. I don't want to walk back there and there's just insulation all over my backyard, and that's what I'm worried about. So, but other than that, I think this thing is done. Like I said, we need to pick up a couple of handles. I'd like to screw some handles right here. There's a 2x4 that goes across here. I'd like to screw a couple of handles so that it's easier to move in and out from the back of the shop to get to the tank. But yeah, I think that this is done for today. You know, we can reach in there, we can turn the tank on and off. Yeah, only other thing that I gotta do, I gotta hammer these holes flat up here, and we need to put some caulk up there just to keep the water from not draining in there. You know, especially like that one. That one's a bad one. So, but yeah. Okay, we're back out here, and as you can see, shop's cleaned up, and the propane box is not in here no more. So we got set up outside. So I think it came out pretty nice. Water's already dripping on it and draining out to the front. If it would have came out a little bit farther, it's dripping right on the edge of my cement there, which means that it's probably going to roll back underneath. But it hopefully will serve its purpose. Only thing that I see, for one, this, you know, I estimated putting this about where the tank was, but because this line is not long enough to go down, I guess we kind of got it. If the line was just a little bit longer, I think it would work. Or if we, you see how we got some gaps down there on both sides, which I explained to you guys yesterday in the video that my cement here was not level, that it had sunk over the years. So I'm thinking if I build a little bit of a platform, I have my tank sitting on a 2x4. I don't know if you guys can see that down there in the corner is a 2x4 sticking out. I have a 2x4 running across the back that my tank sits on so that my tank stays level. So I'm thinking maybe if I build out a little bit bigger of a platform for my tank to sit on, then it will maybe elevate my tank up a little bit, which will give us a little more slack here, and it will fill in that gap down on the bottom. But I don't know if we'll even get to doing that, because we're planning on in the summer running gas line out here, so this will be the only year that actually gets used as that. I'm just trying to, you know, we're not far into winter here. We're in January at the moment. We still got another 3 months of winter, and I just want to make it through the winter. So You know, not that this box won't, you know, I'll try and repurpose it, find another purpose for it. But you know, for right now, it's hopefully going to serve its purpose in keeping my tank warmer and keeping the water off of it. As you can see, I told you guys I don't have gutters, so it was just dripping right on the tank and turning the tank into an icicle. So now we have that protected. I also did not get, I told you guys I had a moving blanket I was going to wrap around the tank, and I forgot that the blanket is actually being used at the moment. It has a bunch of painted car parts on it. So I forgot about it. I only have the one moving blanket. So we will have to wait until this Jeep is put back together to get my blanket back. Or maybe if we're out near Harbor Freight one day, we'll stop and grab another one. That's where I get them from. So, but anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm closing it out here. We will see you guys in the next one. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. I'm out. Oh.